Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Clenard, and I want to talk about all or nothing thinking. I want to talk about what it is, and it's really just thinking in extremes, really polarized thought process that's either all or nothing, always, never, this or that, to limited extreme options with very little or no gray areas in between. This type of thinking is very limiting to yourself and to your experiences in the world, and it's often rooted in anxiety, sometimes striving for perfection, or having low self-esteem or low self-worth. Even if your low self-esteem or self-worth is a subconscious belief or operating system, and you're able to put, a high self-esteem face in the world, but you're covering up what's really going on inside in your thought process or in your body. All or nothing thinking is really limited, and it really is intended to prevent discomfort. Like, discomfort rises and you try to avoid it. That's where that comes from. However, that's not the outcome. It typically tethers us or chains us to our discomfort and or perpetuates the cycle or pattern of discomfort within the person, demonstrating all or nothing thinking. So I don't know if you've done that before. Do you notice that you're someone who says always, never, good, bad, this, that, and everything is either a good or a bad experience, or another way you might see it is thinking like this, like, well, I texted them an hour ago and I haven't heard back. They must be mad at me. That's all or nothing. Because you're imposing an expectation of time in relationship to your worth. So it's either they respond immediately and therefore they're happy with me, or they delay their response, so they must be mad. It's very extreme, polarized way that I see this come up in the world. And I'm speaking to you from a perspective of, I've been in this thinking. I spent a lot of years, if not decades, in this thinking pattern out of anxiety and low self-worth. And I've overcome it with help, with counseling, with behavioral therapy, alternative behavioral therapies, alternative healing, uncovering the subconscious underlying patterns, which is what I do. So I wanted to bring this up because it's really important that if you want to improve your life, that you recognize this pattern. If it exists, then you may very possibly feel like there's some lack in your life, like lack of connection, lack of joy, lack of certainty, just lack of feeling good in your body, in your relationships, in relationship to yourself, or in the world. Because like I said, this thought pattern, it's a response to discomfort, like a rise of discomfort. We often think it's something to do with outside of us, but really it has everything to do with our own triggered belief that we might lose value, or we lack value, or that we may be unsafe or unloved or disconnected, we don't belong. There's an experience, a belief, emotions, something inside you that's being triggered when you shift into this all or nothing thinking. And by becoming aware of it, you can disrupt it. And the way we disrupt it is by observing and identifying it, shifting our behaviors once we do identify it. So I noticed I just said, you always fill in the blank to my partner, and I say, oh, I didn't mean always. I meant 3 times in the past 3 weeks, or sometimes, or whatever the truth is. We choose a new way of responding when we notice the all or nothing thinking in our language. Always, never, this, that, black, white, etc. So we can acquire new information. We can open our minds and our ears and our hearts to learn or accept new information that outweighs the dissonance, feeling, thought, or perception, the discomfort. So if you feel like you might not be valued if this happens always or never, then you can learn something new, a fact about you or a fact about how things are going. You can ask for help on this one if you need it. That's kind of a tough one on your own. But another thing you can do is reduce the importance of the belief so the discomfort subsides. So don't put your focus and attention on how important it is that someone calls you back within a certain amount of time, but just give them the time and space to respond. I mean, you don't have to know why they're not responding. It's the important, like, reduce the importance of the time frame, and then the discomfort subsides. So that's an example for that, what that means. But the real reason I wanted to talk about this is because there are so many of us out there that unintentionally are really applying a lot of all or nothing thinking to ourselves and in our lives, and our discomfort level. Like I said, that happens because we want to avoid discomfort or dissonance. However, that whole pattern is actually creating more of it. It perpetuates the pattern of discomfort or dissonance. So breaking that pattern, breaking that cycle is so incredibly important. And I'll tell you, that's something that subconscious intuitive work can help with, or coaching, behavioral coaching, or counseling can help. So there's a lot of opportunities to get help with that if you're not able to do it on your own. But the sheer act of observing and putting less importance on or seeking the truth in your statements that you observe, instead of judging yourself, because if you judge yourself, you're just going to go deeper into the all or nothing thinking, right? And deeper into the discomfort. So observe without judgment, and then choose differently, or learn something new, or lessen the importance of the situation or the belief that's uncomfortable by just giving it some truth, or reframing it, or something like that. So, but again, it can be done, but if you are really in a state of overwhelm and anxiety, don't be surprised if this is really hard to identify, because it's hard to process information when you're in overwhelm or anxiety mode, okay? And then, now that we've talked about what it looks like, I want to talk about what cognitive dissonance or all or nothing thinking is looking like in terms of Black Lives Matter movement. So right now, I'm shifting my focus from speaking to everyone to speaking more to the white community, because I have experience with this. This is something I can speak to. I have been a person who identifies as white. You can see I have white skin. And I have also been a person that has been literally immersed in all or nothing thinking, anxiety, and self-worth issues. And in my past, the first time I ever heard the phrase Black Lives Matter, I responded immediately with All Lives Matter. That's the truth. So looking back on that, I see now that hearing the words Black Lives Matter, it triggered discomfort in my own lack of self-worth, my own sense of a lack of importance, and my own fear for my safety or comfort in the world. And that's a lot. That's kind of hard to say and hard to swallow, but I think it's important that we talk about it, because that's what's happening to a lot of people who are refuting the Black Lives Matter movement or statement with All Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, I've spoken to friends, family, clients and listened to what they're saying. And I promise you that Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with taking away your value. It's not this or that. It's not. Black Lives Matter movement is really about being seen and heard and treated with equality. And as a woman in the world, I know that there is not equality for all because there's not equality for women. So it's reasonable to ascertain that there's not equality for Black people. Because my experience is, even if I were to rob a grocery store, which I wouldn't, but if I did, I would be more concerned that I might be arrested. But I would not have concern that I would be murdered in the street. It's that simple. There is not equality for all. There's supposed to be. Equality exists. It's written into our Constitution. It's written into our laws. But it is not being applied equally to every person. There are so many groups of marginalized people out there. I want you to think about this for a second, because marginalized people are people who are, what's the word I'm looking for? People who kind of exist on the edges of society. They're not always equal or treated. Sometimes they can be oppressed or discriminated against, okay? And historically, you know that exists, okay? So if we look at things the way that they are now, there are so many marginalized groups, okay? And I'm not trying to take away from the Black Lives Matter movement by speaking this, but we need to talk about the big picture for a moment. Marginalized groups, you probably know some and love them and want to protect them. You just may not recognize that they're marginalized. You may even be in a marginalized group and not be aware of it, but if you think of it in these terms, like it's not this or that, it's not Black lives or no lives, or Black lives or police lives, or Black lives or white lives. It's not polarized. It's not all or nothing, this or that. It's not. What it is that as soon as Black lives can be acknowledged as mattering, as soon as everyone can, or the majority can say, yes, Black lives do matter, they have to matter. By saying that, we shift into truly being able to create a system in which all lives really do matter and that equality is applied equally. So marginalized groups can be Black persons, Indigenous persons, other persons of color or cultural minorities, LGBTQ+, women, senior citizens, those living in poverty or struggling at the poverty line, veterans, persons with hearing, vision, or physical challenges, those with mental health disorders or addictions, homeless people. Did I mention veterans? Because I'm pretty sure I did. This list is expansive, and there can be others. This may not be a full list. I may have missed someone. But my point is, I guarantee that you know someone who fits within this marginalized group list, and it might even be you. But if you're in this list and you have white skin, you still have privilege over those with Black, brown skin. Privilege has nothing to do with struggle. You can be privileged because of the color of your skin or because of your gender. Men have more privilege than women in this system. More equality, more opportunities, more equal pay, okay? So just because equality allegedly exists does not mean it is applied and distributed equally. So when we come together to support Black lives, instead of responding out of cognitive dissonance and all or nothing thinking and our own internalized discomfort that we may not matter, then we can move toward a future where all people, where Black people, brown people, women, police, LGBTQ, veterans, all people in poverty are all safer, valued, and equal. But that is not going to happen until we are willing to look past our own internalized discomfort, our all or nothing thinking, or our cognitive dissonance. We need to open our ears and our hearts and our minds to the possibility that we don't know what other people are experiencing because we are not experiencing it. That is a form of all or nothing thinking. Replying all lives matter to Black Lives Matter is a form of all or nothing thinking. Responding Blue Lives Matter to Black Lives Matter is a form of all or nothing thinking. And it's not all or nothing. No one has ever intended all or nothing with Black Lives Matter. No one. That's not the purpose. It's not the meaning. It is your perception based on your cognitive dissonance, your own internalized subconscious discomfort and fear or worry that your value will somehow diminish if the value of Black people is equal. And that is systemic racism. That is white privilege. And the only way veterans, your sisters, wives, mothers, and all other marginalized people are going to ever experience equality is if we start by opening up to the possibility and the necessity for equality, justice, and safety for the Black community. All right. If you need references, resources, help, coaching, counseling, identifying some of your own patterns, if you are needing resources on how to be a better ally or how to shift from non-racism, because I believe that the white friends, family, and community and followers that I'm speaking to, I believe that you are non-racist, but it's important that we shift out of our cognitive dissonance so that we can really be anti-racist and pro-applied equality to all. I know a lot of you believe this country was built on equality and that it exists, and it does for some, but not everyone, not actually equally and fairly the way it should, the way it was allegedly intended. So I'm off my soapbox now, and if you need resources and help digging deeper into your own cognitive dissonance, remember that it can help you feel better, function better, and it can help save lives. So I have resources. I'm happy to help. Please reach out. Please ask questions. I will help in any way I can, which is like uncovering patterns and things that are in my area of expertise, delving into the subconscious patterns and beliefs and limitations to help recognize and heal those or disrupt them so that you can operate in new, healthier, more comfortable ways. But in terms of being a better ally, I will be referring out to the Black community, to coaches, healers, and educators who are doing the work, and they are speaking the voice of the Black community and what they need, because I am not the expert on that. I am the student. And to my Black friends, family, followers, loved ones, sisters, brothers, friends, neighbors, etc. If I have spoken out of term or I need to correct something, I am open to that. Like I said, I'm the student, not the teacher, and I'm listening. Take care, everybody, and I hope we can all find a way to move toward applied equality for all, and unity and justice and humanity. It will make everything better for everyone when we do. And I love you all, and I will talk to you soon. See you in the next video.